What's going on, YouTube, and welcome back to Goal Line Hockey. It's your boy Kevin Forte. Today we are going to review or preview the second round matchup between the Dallas Stars and the Winnipeg Jets. These teams have never met each other in the Stanley Cup playoffs, so this will be the first time that the Jets and the Stars battle it out in the postseason. The first round for both of these teams was an interesting kind of turn of events. A lot of people had the Colorado Avalanche going on a pretty deep run. The Dallas Stars broke that. And going into the postseason, the Stars faced a lot of adversity, especially injury-wise. And for the Jets, it's a shock that they're even here for a Game 1 back up in Winnipeg. We're going to discuss all that here today. So, like I said, these two teams have never met in the postseason before. The Dallas Stars have had a little bit of a ring of success over the last couple of years. The Stars last went to the playoffs. They went to the conference finals last season. They lost in 6 games to the Edmonton Oilers. For the Jets, they have not been to the Western Conference Final since 2018. That was the last time they went on that deep playoff run. And the fact that, like I said, the Jets were down 2 goals in Game 7 at home, a 3-1 lead for the Blues, and they were able to tie the game. And with 1.6 seconds left, they were able to tie the game late in the third period and ultimately win it in double overtime. Took a lot of resiliency, took a lot of effort to do that for the Winnipeg Jets. For the Dallas Stars side of things, they had to beat the Colorado Avalanche, who a lot of people had as one of the favorites, as kind of an underdog going into the Stanley Cup playoffs this season. So Dallas had a tough road to get ahead in that series. They did ultimately win that series in 6 games, and they played pretty much as well as you could have asked. As good of a team as, now I'll say, both those series went to 7 games, not 6. I apologize. Dallas won that series in 7. It was one of those things where magic happens in the playoffs, and we saw Mikko Rantanen have a natural hat trick. Actually, no, he didn't. It was not a natural hat trick. It was 2 goals. Then we saw the other goal, the game-winning goal, and then the empty netter. So he got 3 goals in the third period. Either way, it's the first time that's ever happened in a Game 7 of the Stanley Cup playoffs, and Mikko Rantanen pretty much did what people dream of when they grow up. Game 7 hat trick in the third period. He did that. And they're going to need to see more of that in the second round because the Jets have a lot of good players on that team that can score. Kyle Connor leads the team in goals. And then you've got the other guys like Nikolai Ehlers, Mark Scheifele, picking up depth goals from guys like Cole Perfetti, Adam Lowry. This is a team that has a lot of guys that can score on any given night. And that's why the Jets tend to be a team that maybe they don't always go so far in the playoffs, but they have guys to get them to the playoffs because they have that talent there. Nino Niederreiter, right? The big thing with the Jets going into this series, we're going to need to see a better form of Connor Hellebuyck. Connor Hellebuyck, for better or for worse, they were playing the Blues in the first round. And Binnington played really well in that series and definitely gave them a chance to win that series. Connor Hellebuyck got pulled 3 straight games in this series in St. Louis. That cannot happen against the Dallas Stars if the President's Trophy team here wants to go to the conference final. That is not going to happen again. They narrowly escaped that series. They cannot do that against the Stars. The margin for error is too small against the Dallas Stars. They have enough potent threats up front and a solid enough defense. They cannot afford to do that. Definitely a different style of play, though. The Blues, I would say, are the team that could really rough you up. Not that Dallas can't, but I think in terms of just the way they play, I think St. Louis is a tougher, on a night-to-night basis, Game 7, they will beat you up. The Stars are going to be more willing to play the back-and-forth game, and that could end up being a benefit for the Jets in this series. With that said, though, I think with what we saw from Jake Ottinger in the first round, he played well, not great. Connor Hellebuyck did not play well and was very, very, a lot of that information was put out there publicly. He just was not good. And it was one of those things where this is going to be a turning point in this series. If Connor Hellebuyck comes into Game 1 and has a shutout or something like that, this is going to be quite the series because I think that he's capable of that. I think Jake Ottinger is capable of that. And we talk about a lot of these teams. Like, I look at the rest of the postseason teams, right? All 8 teams left. I don't see one goaltender in any of the other 6 teams in the playoffs. I don't think any of their goaltenders can steal a game. But in this series, I could see Ottinger or Hellebuck stealing a series. And I know that sounds crazy, especially for Hellebuck with the way things went in the first round, but that's over now. Now that it's a fresh new slate, it's a fresh new season, it's a fresh new series. None of that matters now. And, with that said, I think the grittiness and the tough side, I think Winnipeg can benefit from that, just playing rough and dirty. I think they did fairly well with that in the first round. They have a lot of big defensemen on this team. Logan Stanley's not afraid to get into it. They definitely went after some of the Blues a couple of times. They stood up for themselves. I think Dallas is going to have to deal with that a little bit here. I think Tyler Seguin, Rupe Hintz, Mikko Rantanen, right? I think those guys are going to get tested a lot by the Jets defense. That's a big defense that's going to cause a lot of problems for them. It's not going to be easy for the Dallas Stars, who no knocks against Colorado's defense. They are one of the better defensive cores of the league, but they are not as big as the Jets defense. The Jets has a big physical presence on the back end. That's going to be something a little different than what they saw against Colorado. And is it enough to slow down that offense of the Dallas Stars? It definitely could be. And if that's the case, well, then on the Jet side of things, do they have what it takes to get the big goals in the big moments from Scheifele and Connor and Ehlers, right? So both of these teams, I'm excited one of them's going to go to the conference finals because I like both of these teams, honestly. And I would like to wish more for them in terms of doing well. But honestly, I look at the other 2 teams in Vegas and Edmonton, and unless they just beat the crap out of each other to the point where, Winnipeg and Dallas are just going to be able to beat them because they're beat up, I think roster-wise and lineup on paper, I like both Edmonton and Vegas better than both of these teams. So both of these teams are really going to have to prove themselves in the second round. And if someone is truly dominant in this series, it could really prove to the rest of the league, including myself, we should be legit. We should be taken seriously going into the Western Conference Finals. There's a lot of growing up to do for both of these teams, and you can do that. You can do that during the postseason. You could have a rough game. You could have a rough series and come back from it. Because like I said, everything that happened in the first round is the past. They advanced to the second round. It's a fresh new slate. Whether you swept a team in the first round, you beat a team in 5 games or 7 games, it doesn't matter. It's a new series. It starts now, and you can start fresh. And I think that's going to be a good thing for both of these teams. In terms of the injury bug for both of these teams, kind of an interesting story. So obviously for Dallas, the big ones being Jason Robertson, who's been out with a knee injury, and Miro Heiskanen. So the fact that both of those guys out, that's arguably your best forward and your best defenseman out of the lineup. And that's why I picked, and I think a lot of people picked, Dallas to lose that first round series against the Avalanche because they were missing their 2 best players on either end of the rink. And for Winnipeg, they're without Scheifele still. So depending on how long he's out, it sounds like it's just an undisclosed injury. He missed Game 7 of the first round series, but I expect him to be back at some point in this series. It doesn't sound like it's any kind of, unless it's a concussion and he's really out, I think we will see him back in this second round series. With that said, you guys' favorite part of the video, who do I think is going to win this series? And I am genuinely concerned about Connor Hellebuck right now. I think his first round, unless he is able to whip things around, and like I said, he is very much capable of doing that. I think Dallas just has a little bit more scoring. I think Dallas's star players can do a little bit more than what we've seen from the Jets. And I do think that Dallas will win this series in 6. I think this is a favorable matchup for the Dallas Stars. I think they beat probably the best team other than themselves, beating the Colorado Avalanche in the first round. That was quite impressive. And just the way that Winnipeg struggled against St. Louis. Yeah, I know St. Louis was a great team down the stretch. We knew that was going to be a tough series, but they struggled mightily. And with Hellebuck getting pulled 3 times, it's just hard for me to predict that they will win this series after what I saw. Things can change. It's a new round. It's a new series. But from what I saw, I was not overly impressed with the Winnipeg Jets, especially the goaltending. And I am going to go with Dallas winning this series. So that is going to do it for today's video. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you liked this video. Want to see more of those videos, make sure to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure to watch the rest of our second round playoff preview videos. And I will see you guys again next time. Peace out, guys.